Hello again, welcome back to the Telltale channel. Today's story is all about dinosaurs, published by Ladybird. Remember to pay close attention to the story and watch it all the way to the end for the quiz and fun facts. Millions of years ago, the Earth must have looked like this. Once the Earth was very hot. As it slowly cooled, rain began to fall. The rainwater made rivers and oceans. Nothing lived on the land or in the sea. There were no plants, no animals, and no people. The first plants were algae, and the first animals were tiny creatures called protozoa. Over millions of years, the animal changed into jellyfish and sponges. Later, there were worms and starfish. Later still, there were animals that had shells. Bony-headed fish like these began to live in the sea. Most, like Pteraspis, were quite small, but Dinocles was as long as a bus. At this time, plants began to grow on the land. They looked like the mosses and ferns we see today, but some were as tall as trees. Slowly, the Earth's climate became hotter again, and many lakes and rivers dried up. Some fish, like Eusthenopteron, grew lungs and very strong fins, so they could crawl onto the land. Millions of years later, some fish grew legs. They had become amphibians. This means that they could live both on land and in water. As time went by, many different kinds of amphibians appeared. Some were only 2 inches long. Others, like Eogeranus, grew as long as 15 feet. Amphibians ruled the Earth for many millions of years. But as the climate became drier, some amphibians slowly changed into reptiles. Unlike amphibians, reptiles do not need to go into water to lay eggs. The females lay waterproof eggs on land. Samuria was one of the first reptiles. Reptiles began to look less like amphibians. Some, like Edaphosaurus, grew large fins on their backs. These fins could be up to 6 feet high. Dimetrodon was one of the first reptiles to eat meat. It ate smaller amphibians and reptiles. There are still reptiles and amphibians on Earth today. The frog is an amphibian. It lays its eggs in water. The alligator is a reptile. It lays its eggs on land. Some reptiles went back to live in the water. They did not lay eggs. The young sea reptiles hatched from eggs inside the mother's body. Ichthyosaurs looked like a dolphin and could swim very fast to catch fish to eat. Plesiosaurus could not swim fast. Its very long neck helped it find food. Some reptiles grew wings made of a thin layer of skin. These let them glide through the air. Some of these reptiles were enormous, but many were no larger than a small bird. Gliding reptiles ate fish or small reptiles and insects. Pteranodon was one of the biggest gliding reptiles. Its wingspan could be as wide as 27 feet. Gliding reptiles lived on cliffs near the sea. Very large bones were found in England during the 1820s. Later, huge footprints were found both in England and in America. The footprints and bones were those of dinosaurs. They had been buried in the ground and preserved for millions of years. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard. There were many kinds of dinosaurs, and they all lived long before the first humans. Some were very small and quick, but others were very big and slow. Diplodocus and Apatosaurus were 2 of the biggest dinosaurs. They were gentle plant eaters and lived in herds for protection. Stegosaurus was very slow. It had bony plates and a spiked tail to protect it from its enemies. Allosaurus was a large meat-eating dinosaur that stood on two legs. Its mouth opened so wide that it could swallow small animals whole. Hypsilophodon was a very small dinosaur that moved on two legs. It ran very fast to escape its enemies. Iguanodon was a much larger plant eater. It had a bony spike on each thumb that it used to fight off its attackers. Remains of Polycanthus were found in England. The double row of spikes on its back and the bony plates on its tail kept other animals away. Ankylosaurus appeared on Earth later than Stegosaurus. Its body was covered with bony plates. At the end of its tail was a big lump of bone with spikes, which Ankylosaurus used as a club. These two dinosaurs are known as duck-bills because they had bills or beaks that were broad and flat, just like a duck's. They had many rows of teeth for grinding tough plants. Corythosaurus had a bony crest on its head that looked like a helmet. Its name means helmet reptile. Protoceratops had a tough, bony collar to protect its neck. Fossil eggs have been found in Mongolia with the bones of baby Protoceratops inside. Each egg was about 8 inches long. Styracosaurus looked fierce but ate plants, not other animals. It had a beak like a parrot's and long spikes on its head. Tyrannosaurus was the largest and fiercest meat-eating dinosaur. Its jaw was 4 feet long and its teeth were 6 inches long. Dinosaurs roamed the earth for nearly 150 million years. These were two of the last dinosaurs to appear. Triceratops was a very big plant eater that had 2 horns above its eyes. Male Triceratops may have used these horns to fight as male deer do today. Archaeopteryx was the first bird. It lived at the time of the dinosaurs and was as big as a magpie. Archaeopteryx had teeth like a reptile's. Its long, bony tail had feathers growing on it, and its wings had claws. A mammal is an animal that is covered with fur and feeds on its mother's milk when it is young. The first mammals lived at the time of the dinosaurs and the first birds. Early mammals, like Phascalotherium, were no larger than mice or rats. Later, some mammals became much bigger. Megatherium was about 5.5 meters high. It lived in South America. Uintatherium was as big as an elephant. It looked fierce, but it ate only plants. Baluchitherium was the tallest land mammal that has ever lived. It was about 8 meters tall, more than 3 times as high as a man, and it ate leaves and twigs. Eohippus was the earliest ancestor of today's horses and zebras. It was only 30 centimeters high and lived in the forests. Although it had toes instead of hooves, it could still run very fast. The woolly mammoth was a huge elephant with a hairy coat. It lived during the Ice Ages. The first humans hunted mammoths for food. This tiger had front teeth about 9 inches long. It could kill a mammoth or any other animal. But early humans hunted the saber-toothed tiger until there were none left. The end. Fun fact: Tyrannosaurus rex grew to about 40 feet long. Were you paying close attention to the story? Try the fun quiz. What does the word dinosaur mean? The answer is terrible lizard. What does the name Crothosaurus mean? The answer is helmet reptile. How big was the Archaeopteryx? The answer is the size of a magpie. Fun fact: the 1993 blockbuster film Jurassic Park made over $1.1 billion at the box office. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Remember to like and subscribe to the Telltale channel and click the notification bell for more stories, quizzes, and fun facts.